Welcome to another edition of District Insiders. I'm your co-host, Andrew Kreig, with our other host, Wayne Madsen, and we're delighted to welcome Patrick Reynolds as guest today. He's a civic reformer who formed Congress Majority Political Action Committee in 2018 with a mission of getting Democrats elected to Congress. And he's going to share with us today his innovative strategies regarding the forthcoming U.S. elections. And welcome, Patrick. Thank
Well,
you.
glad to be on board.
Well, okay. Congress Majority Political Action Committee. Uh, why was it, after your career, which we can get into, and being a pioneer in opposing tobacco, particularly for young people. Uh, but why was it that you thought that yet another political action committee is useful, and why you had a strategy to make it even more useful?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. If it's okay with you, I'll go a minute or two and walk you through my evolution from anti-tobacco activist to founding this PAC to elect Democrats.
Well, that's going to take more than a minute or two because it's quite lengthy, quite distinguished, but maybe we'll have a teaser here at the beginning before getting into the whole deal.
Well, I want to throw out that I guess the reason that the I got cast into the national spotlight when I spoke out against tobacco in 1986 was that my grandfather, R.J. Reynolds, founded the tobacco company. And when you had a member of the, or perceived member of the tobacco industry, speaking out for the first time against the industry, that made the news, all the big news. And I was just catapulted into the national spotlight. And I was surprised at the reaction. They had media trainers training me, and I fought for around 40 years, really, for smoking bans at first. They were partial smoking bans, allowing for smoking in a certain part of the restaurant. Or, we finally got smoking off planes later, spoke out in Congress for that. Anyway, President Obama gave me the White House Lifetime Achievement Award in 2015. So I became, and I'm quite a leader of the movement, not the leader, but one of many people that were speaking out against what was going on. And over the years, my pet peeve became campaign finance because I noticed as we tried to get Republicans under the Bush administration to tax tobacco, that we weren't support among Republicans was very weak. That is to say, they wouldn't vote for it. And guess what? I learned that in the early 2000s, 80 to 90% of Big Tobacco's political contributions were going to Republican candidates and PACs. So the Republicans, that fit with their ideology. They didn't believe in regulation. They didn't believe in taxing anything. And we on the other side, in the health community, pointed out the science said that when you raise taxes on tobacco, uh, it it stops kids from starting and getting addicted. And almost nobody starts after 19. So it made sense to stop kids from getting addicted. It incentivized people to quit. And it also brought in revenue. So it was a win-win-win, but the Republicans weren't having any of it. And I think it's not coincidental that they were getting some of their biggest campaign contributions from the tobacco industry. So that over the years became my pet peeve. And after a while, as we started winning the battle against tobacco, uh, I really uh, realized that if we want the policy to be passed for tobacco, and not just tobacco, for climate change, for a woman's right to choose, or for to make that law, and all of the other things that so many people were fighting for, gun safety, for example. Republicans were not on board with any of that. And I began to realize, you know, if we get a Democratic majority in Congress, uh, we are going to have not just the policy that we are advocating for tobacco, but for women's rights, climate change, and the list goes on, gun safety. So that's when I said, we're winning this battle on tobacco. We've won the big lawsuits. We have got a lot of good policy in place. We have more to go, but I want to shift my energy now for my final act in my life to getting Democrats in power. And that is why I founded Congress Majority PAC. And love to tell you the story of how that went along, but I'll wait for your next question.
If I could, and Wayne here, Patrick, if I could just ask quickly, what do you think about the science on the dangers of tobacco? We know about it from the original Surgeon General report back in, what was that, 1965 or something? But
64. Yeah.
60, and now we've got RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, stating, I think it was just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, that he doesn't think tobacco is all that harmful because he's known people who smoked into their 90s. Now, this kind of, Kennedy's been putting out a lot of voodoo type science. But is there a fear that that you have that we could see? Because I know they convinced Trump to lessen the regulations on vaping too. What's your feeling about um, uh, people in these positions of authority coming out with quack science? Like, well, how could it be harmful if somebody can smoke their entire life and live till they're 93?
Well, it's outrageous,
Yeah,
and yet it gets lost amid the torrent, the river of lies coming out of the Trump administration. And thank God that the CDC now has that amazing lady now finally, I believe, heading it up, and she is very much for childhood vaccines. Uh, they finally seem to have made a good appointment for Health and Human Services. So for the CDC rather,
yeah.
and but the quackery and the lies coming out of RFK and so many in the Trump administration. I mean, look, Trump has chosen his cabinet for loyalty and not for competence, not for experience, not for the best minds. I saw a sign at a No Kings Day rally, and the sign said, IKEA has better cabinets.
Except you got to go to a college course to figure out the diagrams and how to put them together.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it's been interesting, and and of course, a super PAC is, for better or worse, unlimited money can be. There's no limit on contributions anyone can make. Well, it has to be a U.S. citizen to a super PAC. So I started the super PAC. We've raised 1.6 million so far, but 1.3 if you go on the FEC website. But when you add up the 24 cycle and everything since February, because the FEC.gov is only current till February at this point, we have raised over 1.6 million from 29,000 donors. And now we've got a great team in place, and we're really geared and poised to raise a great deal of money. We have a terrific fundraising team, and we have some ads that are gonna kill it. And nobody else is doing ads like ours.
Hmm.
I'm really happy to report that, well, actually, I'm really sad to report that all the big campaign donations to the Democrats, and I think the Republicans too, if I'm correct, it's all very conventional. They do the old attack ads against
Mm.
local candidates, and the local candidates defend themselves or advocate for themselves in their ads. But either way, all the money you donate to politics, whether it's to the big guns like House Majority PAC or Senate Majority PAC or the big Republican PACs, uh, all that money goes to local campaigns. So when election season, when it goes to rather local campaigns. So every election season, we are assaulted with a river, a torrent of uh, dueling candidate ads. My opponent doesn't kiss babies, or how about I'm a great candidate. See, I've got my family, and those are the kinds of ads that we're seeing on TV. I thought, oh my God, here we go again. Let's have ads on TV that rise above the local fray and attack, yes, attack, because that works, but let's attack Trump. Let's
Yeah.
attack let's attack the Republicans as a party. So if you go to congressmajority.org and click on the TV spots, congressmajority.org, and the TV spots, there's a reel of our news spots at the top. It's killer good. And those are the ads we want to put on in every key race. And any ad of ours can run in any race because they all end vote Democrat. And we point out why, the Republicans are wrong about climate change. We have one ad on climate change. And we have one ad. I hope you can run those ads. I could probably share my screen in the meeting if you want to put them on TV now. But um, it's exciting to see what we're doing. It's completely different. And yet our ads are polished, made by a top political advertising group, and they are going to win votes for Democrats. Our ad on the economy says it's me narrating on the ads, but I'm pretty good at it. I wrote them and I narrate them. I don't usually like it to be known that I narrate them, but it's better when people don't know who the voice is. But I begun one ad by saying, which party is better for the economy? Under Clinton, we had 8 years of prosperity, but Bush deregulated the banks, and that helped cause the 2008 mortgage crisis. His don't regulate ideology led to disaster. Obama inherited a mess, and his policies passed by his new Democratic Congress led to recovery, and the stock market hit all-time highs. Under Trump and COVID, there was another financial calamity, and Biden inherited another mess, but he and Democrats passed policy that led the stock market to go even higher than it had under Obama. And Democrats know that we need more pragmatism and less ideology from our leaders. I don't remember the rest of the ad, but it's killer good. And it just positions the Democrats as far better stewards of the economy. And those are the ads that we need on TV to get Democrats elected and take control of Congress away from these Republicans who have supported Trump in lockstep.
Well, it sounds very necessary to me, as you mentioned it, because in each of those situations, the incoming Democrat had a massive problem that then created somewhat hardship for the public. And then the person trying to rectify the hardship is blamed, in effect, uh, for causing it when actually they had to spend money and time to solve the problem. So it sounds innovative. And let me drill down just a little bit more on that. Um, uh, so, as I understand it, but maybe you can correct any misunderstandings. Um, you don't work with specific named candidates, but you want to work with candidates' campaign to provide a generalized ad, or maybe I've got it wrong, but
Let me
does it
jump
work?
in here,
How
if
does
I
it work?
may. Yeah. Well, it would be illegal for me to strategize with the candidate or his campaign team. Can't do it. It's illegal. A
Right.
PAC must be independent of the candidates, and we are totally independent. That's why they call them independent expenditure committees. And our treasurer and our whole crew would be very unhappy if I talk to it's a hybrid, so I get to donate to local candidates and any candidate, but I can't really talk to them and say, "Hey, we want to run our ads," and we can't do that. So we
Mhm.
stay away from it. We only talk to our donors and the people that can fund us to get those ads on, and we will choose the races we want them on in, independent of the candidates. And we're going to only put them in the key races that will determine which party controls Congress in the future. Now, I even created just for fun. A guy came to me, he looked at our ads, a branding guy and his buddy who's a big Hollywood producer, and they came back to me and they said, "We don't like your ads." And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" And they said, "Well, they all end vote Democrat." And and I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, you wanted to vote Republican." And so I said, "Tell me more." And they said, "Look, the Democrats are a tarnished brand. People don't like the Democrats anymore. You got to come up with something else." So we stewed and we thought, and I wanted the producer to make a big gift to the PAC, and I said maybe we can come up with an ad. And so they came up with their own ad, and basically they wanted it to end vote or
Uh,
don't vote Republican. But it was, look, we're in a two-party system. My ads are going to end vote Democrat no matter what. But I thought of one thing I thought might make them smile, makes a lot of people smile. Uh, because we know, and in our website, I mentioned a CNN report on recently, uh, Kornacki, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Kornacki
Steve
on
Kornacki.
CNN, and he says he's the great statistic guy, and he did a piece the other day, and I put a link to it right on our website on the TV spots page in one of the little learn more boxes under the video screens, and he said, "Look, only 41%, no, excuse me, 47%, only 47% of Democrats approve of the party. That's less
Yeah.
than half." And he said that with Republicans, 51% approve of the party. It's a little better, but it's better than half. So I began thinking, and I realized here's the ad that we came up with. You could, if we had it on the show, you'd be able to see it and hear it. I
We'll
got this.
attach it to the end.
Ah,
Everything you mentioned, we'll attach. Uh,
it's the one called don't I think it's called No Longer Like the Democrats. It's like the fourth one down on the TV spots page at congressmajority.org.
we'll do that.
You gonna play it?
Uh, well, we're not. We can. You know what? This is recorded, so we'll insert it.
Oh, you'll
How
insert
long
it.
is it? We can insert it.
It's 30 seconds.
We'll
Well,
insert
you
it.
got two versions. You can go with the 30-second version or the 15-second version. I like the 30 better, but it's
We'll thank you. You're a producer. We can see. Um, we will insert it right
okay.
now
Well, then
as
maybe you'll
people are
insert
listening.
the economy ad too. That's the one we were talking about earlier. Maybe you want to insert that too.
We,
The
we
economy is 60 seconds, and it's worth running on the show. We've already talked about it, and the this one has a surprise ending, so I won't give away the surprise. But if you're going to cut this part out, I can tell you now that you see black.
Don't tell us. We'll keep things to a minimum with
All right.
our producer. But
Patrick, I was actually going to ask you the fact that you're out in L.A. and I consider L.A. to be the media capital of the world. I mean, people from New York will disagree with that, but I've had my own experiences with some of those movie studios and producers and agents and whatnot. And do you find the fact that you're in that environment much better as far as framing your messages with support from people who are in that business to either entertain or educate people?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of support. California is a blue state, at least along the coast, and people here are pretty sophisticated, educated,
Yeah.
compared to certain other parts of the country. And I feel the support. I don't know that I'm a creative guy. I'm a visionary. And I had a vision for a new kind of advertising in politics. And that's what we're doing. And I think it's going to be incredibly powerful and effective at persuading people to vote Democrat.
Right.
Because we've just risen above the local battles of dueling candidates. People are so sick of those ads. And now we are going to um, rise above that fray and look at the national issues. And one issue at a time, the climate change ad. Oh my God, let's talk about the climate change ad. That's probably the most powerful of all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After the economy comes next, then the 30-second anti-Trump ad with all of his worst things that came out of his mouth in a montage. And I hope you play that. The anti-Trump ad is definitely going to, and at the end of all this montage of all the horrible things Trump says, I put a few seconds of Lindsey Graham saying on Meet the Press, "We are the party of Donald Trump." And then it goes to a title, and that comment by Lindsey Graham shows that it's an indictment of all the Republicans in Congress who have marched with him in lockstep. So after we see Lindsey Graham, we are the party of Donald Trump, he says to Kristen
Right.
Welker. And then we have a title come on, no voiceover, only Democrats can stop Trump. And then it goes to the next title, Vote Democrat. And that theme recurs in 3 of our ads, because that is a central theme to our advertising, that we need a Democratic majority in Congress to stop Trump. So even if you're disaffected from the party, even if you are disappointed in the party, if most people think it's gone too far left, according to Kornacki on CNN, and
He's a
you still
former
need to get out there and vote Democrat, period.
he's a former advisor to Governor Chris Christie in New Jersey, so he doesn't like to say that, but that's his background.
Interesting. Well, look, I will tell you this. I used to be a Republican. I mean, many years ago, I was reading The Fountainhead with Ayn Rand, and I was in college, and I believed in selfishness, and I was inheriting a lot of money at that time. Wish I still had it all, but I'm better off and a better man for having to find my way on my own, which I've successfully done over the years. And it made a better man of me. If I had millions from my family, oh my God, I might be on a beach in Saint-Tropez, it's just goofing off. So, uh,
I,
so
I know what you're talking about. I stayed with a wealthy friend of mine in Saint Tropez one time. Lived up actually above it on the up on the hills, and a nice guy, but he was actually kind of bored with all that money he had, and as I remember staying at his place, and he and his wife were playing a game of Parcheesi, and
Mhm.
because they said, well, it helps pass the time. I said, geez, with all
Yeah, I mean,
this guy
look,
lives in the French Riviera and he doesn't know how
well,
to pass his time.
I'm a pragmatist more than I am anything. I definitely a Democrat. I definitely I care about the little guys. And maybe by the end of the show, we'll come back to a vision I have for a new ad and ask me about that before the end. But
Oh, okay.
We
George
will.
Gilder, just on a parent, just an aside about wealth. George Gilder wrote a book called Wealth and Poverty, which Ronald Reagan gave to the entire Congress.
Uh,
And I'm reading the book and looking at it, and I came across a passage that really resonated. Gilder said, "There's only two kinds of rich people: the rising business class, who are going up and up and up because their parents train them, make them work. Don't give them a lot of money, make them struggle a little bit in their 20s, and then they become strong and they find their way in the world and they can inherit billions. But the declining old rich are the other kind of rich people," he said, "and they do not parent their children well at all. They're off
mm,
playing, they give the kids too much money at too young an age, and the kids grow up to become drug addicts, suicides. You've seen it over the years. And it's very tragic and sad that it's certainly the category that my family comes into. My father inherited $28 million in 1932 as an heir to the tobacco fortune.
mm,
And, he was married 4 times. He was a major drunk. And he did love Democrats. He did put FDR in office in the 30s with his money, and he got
mm,
Franklin Delano Roosevelt elected with his donations more than anybody else. And
uh,
later, my dad helped put Harry Truman in office. So, and he loaned the Democrats $300,000, and then he got indicted for, I don't know, illegal campaign contribution. But my father was so drunk that his pilot came to shake him, and he found him naked in the shower. And he was shake, "Come on, get up! You got to be in Congress and testify. Leave me
uh,
alone." And bottom line is, but my dad put two presidents in office. He wasn't everything that one would hope for. And I wrote a book about him, hoping they would turn it into a TV series because it's a
uh,
rollicking, wild ride of, my dad, the Gilded Leaf. And it was a
uh,
bestseller. And I've got a great co-author, thanks to a Hollywood agent and William Morris, who got me the co-author. And the book was a bestseller, rave reviews, but television never bought it. But they might one day. But I don't hold my breath for Hollywood anymore. I was an actor for a while, and
oh,
starred in one movie, and
oh, which one?
oh God, you wouldn't know. It was a low budget
Oh,
sci-fi movie,
huh,
science fiction, action, adventure, and I played the robot. And I said to my
oh,
agent, "What's the role?" Because I had quit acting. I got married to a German bus heiress in
mm,
uh, in Europe from Germany, and we got married in a big jet set wedding. And I was hanging out with the jet set back in those days.
uh,
The best man was the eldest son of Khashoggi, who was an arms dealer, but I got to look close up at that decadent billionaire life, and to this day, I love Muhammad. He's my buddy, my friend, and I haven't seen him in years, but he was best man at my wedding, and he was buddies with Robin Williams, and his first cousin was Dodi Fayed, who later dated Princess Diana.
wow,
So I invited them all to my wedding, and they all arrived at this German resort, and we had, all the villagers dressed in peasant garb, and they were throwing flowers. We had 12 horse-drawn carriages. It was a
wow,
major thing. We had all the German TV there. It's a lot of fun. And the helicopter comes down and lands, and out of the helicopter stepped the best man, Mohammed Khashoggi, and
uh,
who else? I'm telling too much. This is not part of our
No,
thing.
that's great stuff.
oh, this is
And
It's
we,
well,
we
colorful.
we don't
It's
want
my
to wait
life.
for the TV series or movie. We're getting the preview now of
A
what
little
should be
preview of the
done
TV. I mean, I
later.
don't want to do my life in the TV series. Oh no. I mean, I would. There's three TV series in my book. It's the 1800s, R.J. Reynolds building up the tobacco company, and then there's a whole different set of characters. So you have to make a different series, like Yellowstone. Um,
Yeah.
and that would be the 1920s and 30s with my father. And that's where it should begin. And all the rollicking scandals and the murder, suicide that was never solved. I mean, it goes on. And then my life would be the third one, and together with my brother Zach. But I'm not really keen on, I don't think it'll ever get that far. So maybe I'm off the hook and cross that bridge if it happens. I doubt it.
Well, it's fascinating to me what you're talking about because one of the stories I investigated, and I was in London and in Paris, was the Princess Diana death with Dodi Fayad.
Mm.
Stood right outside that tunnel in
Mhm.
Paris and talked to a lot of people there in Britain. I still have major questions about what how that was reported by the mainstream.
Well, a lot of people do. I was certainly around them. Dodi was a friend, not a good friend, but Dodi and Muhammad and I would, party down at Marbella. They had a big 300
Yes.
acre estate down there, and Dodi and Muhammad would hang out, and we'd get up at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was very young, and my 20s and in my 70s now, and so it's 50 years ago. And
Wow.
Dodi and Muhammad showed up at the wedding, and they brought Robin Williams to the wedding. He was,
Wow.
they used to hang out at the Comedy Store, and I would go with them, and when they were in L.A. So we met London, Paris, L.A., Las Vegas, Marbella, all over the
Yeah.
world, and we played, and I had a great life back in then those days. But it's also very educational and gave me some life experiences that are very helpful to me and in the perspective of where I see the world going now.
Well,
But I
you're,
lost a
you're
lot of my inherited money, and I don't, party with the jet set anymore. I was never into drugs or alcohol, really. I'm no, but because otherwise you are in the declining old rich, and that is
Yeah.
the territory of tragedy, and I've seen it in my own family. So anyway, let's move along from the Reynolds family. It's colorful. I've had an interesting life, and I'm grateful for that. Um, but I want to go back to where I am today, and
yes.
that's
So let's
where
focus on that. And with your background being a very important prelude to it, so this was this part of the story. But to focus
but
on what's coming up, uh, let me ask a couple quick questions.
I'll just throw in. You asked me about what movie I started. I had quit acting. I got married to the
Yeah.
German. I was doing my jet set life, and I said, Hollywood, forget it. I'm going to write a book. It'll be a great TV series about my family. And then my agent called, and the agent said, well, I know you're not acting anymore, but these people you screen tested for a year ago, they're doing a science fiction movie, and do you want to go on the interview? And I said, well, what's the role? She said, well, it's a starring part in a feature, and you would play a robot. And I said, a robot? I said, can they see my face? And she goes, yeah, 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 yeah. She goes, they can see this part of your face, but this is going to be metal, and you'll have a red metal eye. And I said,
Ah,
okay, I'll go on the interview. So for once in my life, not wanting, not caring whether I got the role, I was very relaxed. I wasn't like dying for the part.
mm,
I wasn't insecure, as usually actors are, trembling as they hold the sides to read the lines in the reading, right? So I'm going like, yeah, I'd love to do the part. I read, and I'd love to play. I'd be good in the role. Call me, let me know. And I left. Well, the phone rang that afternoon to my total surprise. You got the part. And I said, oh, damn. I said, I'm back in the movie business again. I was really not happy with Hollywood because 7 years of my life, and I got into acting because I was living with a rising star, Shelley Duvall, and
Oh yeah.
Shelley later got the shine. We were so in love for 2 years,
Wow.
and with Shelley, I mean, we were invited to the parties of movie stars, and she was the darling of the LA movie star crowd. So up at Jack Nicholson's house, we used to see Arnold Schwarzenegger there, and I knew him from Gold's Gym. I used to work out, and I was
Uh,
major bodybuilder with great body. And I thought that guy is never going to be a star. And I was so wrong. And
let
anyway,
alone governor of California.
we could get talk all day about my old life, but it was really fun. And I did the movie. We all thought we were going to be big Hollywood stars. Nothing happened. I mean, the movie did okay, but it wasn't like they were standing in line. I think after that, I got called in on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And they
Ah.
kept calling me back for the role of the
Oh,
captain.
I was going to say it sounds like you were playing one of the Borg
Yeah,
with the.
no, I was going to be Captain Picard. And
Oh,
the role got down to, well, that Borg movie was the science fiction movie. This is now Star Trek: The Next Generation. They're
uh,
casting. So I had
okay.
just done a big science fiction movie called Eliminators. Please do
Uh-huh.
not look it up. But if you go to IMDb, and
Yes.
you can get video clips off of IMDb, and look up Patrick Reynolds 1, and there I am with all the robot clips and God knows what. And but that's why I started acting, because of Shelley, and
Wow.
so sorry to lose her. We didn't stay friends. It was not an easy breakup, because we had been so deeply in love, and but she was a wonderful person,
Uh,
and I'm so glad that she. But I know that making The Shining with Kubrick almost killed her, and she said,
oh, wow.
yeah, and she almost died during the filming because she was such a mess." Uh,
Wow.
and she had lunch with a buddy of mine in London during the making of the film, and she said, "I don't think I'm going to make it alive."
And that one scene of Nicholson coming through the door. I mean, that used
The
to
scene when
bug
she's
me.
yeah, when she's backing up the stairs, and Nicholson's
Yeah.
coming at her with a knife, slashing at her,
Yeah.
and she's like this. He made her shoot that like 100 times.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my.
it almost broke her, and I don't think
Wow.
it. And then she became mentally ill after a few more movies, but life was not easy for her
Oh boy.
after that. Anyway, and people loved her as I did. So anyway, we'll go back now. We'll use the time machine and flash forward, if we may, to
Yes.
an
Yeah,
ad that we made.
absolutely. Let me pop up with a couple questions. You mentioned
Okay.
ads, um, and they're on your website, but presumably you're aiming at a timed uh, big launch, I guess, later this campaign season. Are you, or I guess my two questions are: uh, are you planning in the either show business or campaign tradition um, a forthcoming kind of launch or relaunch of certain ads that people should look forward to? That's kind of one question. And the related question is, what do you want people watching this to do? What's the hope for
Well,
action plan if somebody's watching this and they're uh, captivated, as I think they could and should be? What do you want them to do?
sure, that's real easy. But before we get to that, what is the first question
The
again? I
first
want to be
question
clear.
is, we're going to show some of the existing ads,
Uh,
and we're going to have them interspaced, and so by the time people get to this discussion, they will have seen some of these ads.
mhm.
But what's been the history of their actual rollout in campaigns?
Okay, that's totally understand. If you go to our TV spots page, we spent $120,000 on an ad campaign, which is halfway down that page. And it was an April 1st election last year and two special House elections. And they were both in deep red districts in Florida. And we wanted to see whether our ads would play and persuade voters in deep red districts. So we did that. And the number of the share, and don't forget, there had been a presidential election 5 months previous. So from November until April 1st, election day, Matt Gaetz had to leave the House, and another representative in Florida was called to be in Trump's cabinet. And so there were two openings for House, and they were both in deep red districts. And we ran our $120,000 ad campaign there to see if we could flip them blue. Well, we didn't win, but guess what happened? The share of the Democratic vote in both of those districts shifted by double. The Democratic candidates doubled their share, close to doubled their share of the vote. So we felt that that was proof of concept that by attacking the Republicans as a group, by attacking Trump, that we would persuade voters and bring them over to vote Democrat. So we spent $120,000. We haven't raised enough money yet. We spend a lot of our money on fundraising because we have to. Raised a lot of it by texting. And happily for the public, Apple has now greatly reduced the so-called spam texting. So we can't raise money that way anymore. And I'm sorry for anybody that we bothered, but we did raise $1.6 million in that way. Now we have other ways of fundraising. We have a great fundraising team in place, spending money on fundraising. I even have a new TV spot. And now we're also cultivating major donors, big billionaires. And as a Reynolds, I have access to them. I had 2 meetings this week, and they are both going to donate. And how much, I don't know yet. But that is the way that we're going to get to the point where we can spend 85% of our income on persuasion advertising, media buys, and only in the key races, which will decide the outcome of the election. As to what I want you to do, if you're listening, of course, I have a call to action. We need your support. If you can donate $5 or $10 a month to our PAC at congressmajority.org, just click on the donate button, make it a recurring donation on ActBlue, and donate $5 or $10 a month, or whatever you can afford, more if you can. That will help get our ads on TV in time for the election. I want to tell you, too, that we have a very special ad I haven't talked about yet, and it deals with one issue, climate change. We have it in 60-second, 30-second, and 15-second versions, and we want to do a television ad buy before the election advertising begins. I want to do the buy as soon as we can, starting in heat waves, in flooded areas, anywhere there's a big climate event going on that's a news story, as there is now with the heat wave. We want our ads to run in the key races that will decide control of Congress. So if we can get our climate change ad on before the election advertising begins, because you know and I know there's going to be a flood of advertising coming at you, and we need to get our ads on TV before that starts.
Well, that's
So
vital.
go to congressmajority.org and help us get our ads on there. Congressmajority.org, and donate if you can.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, particularly with the Colorado River and the drought situation through that whole part of the Southwest. Let me go back to Florida. It happens that Wayne is an expert on Florida, particularly nefarious aspects. And I heard you mention Matt Gaetz, where Wayne is one of the world's leading experts on nefarious aspects of Matt Gaetz and the Panhandle First District, which I think Jimmy Petronas won. Uh,
He is now. He's the former chief financial officer under Ron DeSantis, and somebody with a rather tenuous background in his own right.
yeah, but here's my question. What was the other district? And
Tim, were you talking about Tim Walz's district, who's now the UN ambassador?
well, let
Might be.
me ask.
I don't remember, but if you go to our website,
Yeah.
Okay.
if you go to the TV spots page at our website, scroll down to the ad that says April 1st. And I wrote an ad, I wrote them all, that begins, want to play an April Fool's Day joke on Trump? And blah, blah, blah. So, but the election was April Fool's Day, and the joke would be to vote Democrat and show that you don't like him. But that was the call to action. And
Okay. Well,
but if you look at the caption on that ad will tell you where we ran those ads.
no, that'd be good
North.
to know. But here's my question, and you may not recall the answer since you're doing this all over the place. But the Panhandle district of Matt Gaetz is one of the most Republican districts in the country.
Like I said,
And he had an almost uniquely unsavory record that may or may not have been a factor even in the election of his successor. And my question is, do you think there was a significant disparity in election results that you might attribute to your ad or ad campaign in the results of those two districts?
well, of
Or is it
course,
too complicated?
here's the deal. There were as I mentioned, there are many factors that contributed to the increase in Democratic vote share, which doubled in both races. So part of that in that race, part of it was about Matt Gaetz' scandal. Part of it was about our ads. How much, we'll never know. But I do know that we had the ads running on a strong $120,000 campaign, $60,000 in each race. We put them on CTV, and I believe that we helped move the needle. Where our ads did not run, and I wanted them to, was on broadcast TV. So we didn't get them on cable TV, and the usual way people, if we had, and if we'd been able to run some of our other ads. I believe the Democrats might even have won even in deep red districts because people have been upset about the economy, and they are now. If it's okay with you, I would love to. I need to finish off because I've got my fundraising company calling, and they want me to do call time, and I'm going to be calling all the big donors, and I'm getting better at it, and it's all been like a rehearsal for doing a show like this, although we don't get into this kind of detail with a phone call. But I want to talk briefly about the climate change ad. And that is an ad the ad we want to run during heat waves, during the catastrophic flooding and rain events back east or in the Midwest, wherever they happen. If there's a climate change ad and it's within a race that's going to be a key race for Congress, I want that climate change ad on TV. And this is how it goes. Well, you're going to play it now.
We're going to play it now.
Yeah, you're going to play it. So I'll just, maybe at the end of it, I could say that, and it's true that Trump met with Big Oil at Mar-a-Lago. You've seen the news footage in the ads. He asked Big Oil for $1 billion for MAGA Inc. and his own presidential campaign. And they came up, well, we went with over 400 million, but by some estimates, it was over 800 million. that big oil donated, and it's just very hard to track exactly how much. So we're sure that they donated at least 400 million. And Trump then goes, continues to go and sell the public a lie. And we have a clip of it in the ad. Climate change is a hoax. It's a more global warming. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. That's the clip that we used. And he basically sold out our planet for campaign donations. That's the level of corruption of this man. Now, okay, give him the benefit of a doubt. Maybe he really believes that global warming is a hoax. But I'll tell you what, most of the things Trump is calling a lie, if you turned it around, he's lying about it himself. And that is partly what's going on. So our climate change ad points out he's called global warming a hoax. He took hundreds of millions from big oil. And in his current administration, the ad goes on to say that Republicans have dismantled Biden's climate change bill. And the ad begins by saying, in 2022, Democrats passed the strongest climate bill ever passed. And not one Republican voted for it. Now, and then I want to run that during a heat wave again. And it ends, of course, with, Democrats will look out for our planet. Oh, and I came up with this for the ending of the ad. It says something like, and I love this. I'll just go, you've already played it, so I'll just say this. I love the line that says, green energy is now cheaper than oil, and the last 3 years have been the hottest ever recorded. Vote. And it says, one version goes on and says, Democrats will restore clean energy, programs. Vote Democrat. And that's it. A shorter version leaves that part out. But basically, the climate change ad is pure power for Democrats, especially when we're in a red district and people are sweltering in a heat wave. I can't wait to get that ad on TV.
Well, one of the first times I used AI to do a TikTok meme, I said, "Show Mar-a-Lago under 10 feet of water." That one got a lot of views.
I'm sure that's wonderful stuff. I keep my ads pretty serious, pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. We're not trying to make people laugh, except for the one about the disaffected Democrats, where you see titles and they say no longer like the Democrats. And this idea came from the the Hollywood producer and the branding guy that I met, and
Uh,
they didn't like the vote Democrat theme, and I came up with uh, the saddest music. Oh my God, it's the most sad music you can imagine. It's the fourth movement in a symphony by Gustav Mahler, and
uh-huh.
it opened an old movie called Death in Venice from the 70s. And
Ah,
I remembered that music. I said, we got to get that music on in this ad. It's the saddest music. So we had this sad music playing, and you see a title that comes on screen. There's no voice. It's just the titles. You read them. Sad music, black screen, title. No longer like the Democrats. Fades out. Next title. Not voting. Next title. That's a vote for Trump. Next title. And I forget the next one, but you'll play the, and at the end it says, and they'll have seen it by then, uh, vote Democrat. And a little title fades up underneath that. It says, even if it hurts.
Well,
So
this is we need time to show these clips, um, and we may need some post-production inserts and deletions here. But after we get uh, uh, into at that point, let's wind up with your uh, full brief message here. And what do you want people most to remember about this interview, aside from the powerful ads that we've seen?
Sure, here we go. I'll cap it off and thank you for having me on. And we can do that again at the end if you want. Okay, so and as they said on the movie business, action.
Are you
Please
ready for
don't,
your
please don't.
close-up?
You can play my clips from Mandroid from imdb.com, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a distraction. It's up to you. And we're way over an hour, and I'm supposed to be on call time right now with my
Okay.
fundraising
Okay,
code.
so
But let me
here's what
just
we're going to do.
let me cap it off, and I'll give it to you, and
Okay.
we'll stop. I'll let you cap it off. But my ending would be this. We're living in a pivotal time for democracy, and history shows us that in every time there was a major technological change, the Industrial Revolution, it led to the rise of extremism on both sides, left and right, in countries all around the world. That is happening again. And we're seeing leaders of far left, far right, rising to power in country after country around the world. The problem is democracy doesn't live through that. The problem is our democratic institutions may not survive extremist leaders. Autocrats don't like democracy. They just want power. You see it in Trump. Donald Trump has to be stopped. Congress Majority PAC's ads are unlike anything the Democratic Party or candidates are doing, unlike anything the Republicans are doing, I hope. And that's why we need Congress majorities ads on TV, because we can motivate people to stop Trump and vote Democrat, because a Democratic majority is the only way we are going to put the brakes on this reckless, ruthless, amoral president. And go on our website if you want to help us get those ads on TV. Go on our website and donate to Congress Majority. The website, congressmajority.org. Give $5 or $10 a month, just $5 or $10 every month until November, and you will help make a difference to stop this terrible, terrible president. You may like some things he's done, but the corruption, the level of incompetence in his cabinet, his efforts to stop our democratic institutions from functioning, he just has to be stopped. Vote Democrat. Go on our website, congressmajority.org, and donate everything you can.
Well, thank you, Patrick.
Okay,
We're
it's a great.
Thank you.
And I just want to say that that music, that sad music to that film, Death in Venice. Death in Venice, of course, was written by the German exiled writer Thomas Mann. And in a day of book burning and book banning in this country, I think I think it all, we go full circle there.
Well, hopefully you like the ad. I took a chance
Yeah.
because I don't think the Democratic Party ain't gonna like it. But I'm just tapped into the zeitgeist of the voters, and a lot of them, more than half of them, don't like the party right now, and
well,
it's because that they've gone too far to the left. Some people think it's gone too far to the center, and they're
Yeah.
not. So, like Abraham Lincoln said, you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. But my mission here is to save democracy, and we can take concrete action to do that by stopping this president. And we can do that with the Democratic Congress.
well, thank you, Patrick.
Okay.
And we'd love to have you back.
All right. I should have run for
Yes,
Congress.
absolutely.
I'd love to come back. And I should have run for Congress back in the 80s, but it's too late for that game. I like being under the radar. I don't want to end up like Charlie Kirk, but I'm stepping out in public now, and here I am on your show, and hopefully a lot of others to follow.
Very good. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, I think
Talk to you
that's a
soon.
wrap.
And that takes more courage than the fighting tobacco, believe me.
Okay, well, let you get to the big time fundraising, and we'll be in touch shortly. I think we've got some post production to do here with these inserts. So.
If you're open to it, please send me an email when it's ready, edited, and put out
Oh,
there to the
sure.
public.
Yeah,
I'd love
absolutely.
to see it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll
All
put it
right.
on your website.
I feel good about this. In Hollywood, in all my acting classes, which I trained in after Shelley got me into acting, God help me. I was a film student before, wanted to be a director. And one of the things they told me is that you cannot know how good your performance was. You may feel great about it, and it could have been awful. And you might feel terrible about your performance, and it was great. You
Yeah.
don't know. And William Goldman, the great screenwriter William Goldman, opened the first line of his book about screenwriting, and he wrote, "The first rule of Hollywood is that nobody knows anything." And
Well,
I think he was
by
right.
the way,
So I
just
don't know if it's any good. I don't, whatever,
we
but we'll see what happens.
we know you got to get to things, but just a quick uh, ending off here. Wayne was staying in whatever fancy place you were talking about with a best-selling author who got him represented by the William Morris agent,
No, not William Morris.
which who
The Renaissance.
the
Renaissance.
Renaissance. So
Irving
Wayne,
Swifty Lazar's old
yeah.
old
So
place. Yeah.
Wayne and I both have small toeholds in Hollywood aspects. And in Wayne's case, for years he wrote a column called Hollywood Prolatrivia, the relevance of old TV shows and movies to today's nefarious politics. So we love this. We love this stuff, but
Yeah,
we don't.
it's my weak spot. Anything having to do with Hollywood, old movies, newer movies.
Well,
Uh,
I like what Harry Cohn said, and it echoes the nobody knows anything. Harry Cohn said, "Look, you want to send a message? Use Western Union."
Yeah. And here's
yeah,
what
yeah.
Wayne.
He had some problems with Alfred Hitchcock, didn't he?
Right,
Over the
we don't
So
go to the movies to get
we'll
priesthood.
let you get to your fundraising, but with big thanks. We really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank
I
you
need
very
to.
much. Enjoyed it. Thanks,
It's a
Patrick.
pleasure. Bye.
Bye.